This was captured by a drone deep in the jungle, and that is only the bonus case. In this video, you will see several discoveries so disturbing that they made biologists refuse to return to the jungle. Some involve unknown figures caught by cameras. Others involve deadly diseases, strange animals, and places that seem almost impossible to explain. Every case is ranked from the least terrifying to the most chilling discovery of all. So take this as a challenge. Watch until the end and then tell me in the comments which number scared you the most. Let's begin. Number 10. Starting with something mild, but still strange enough to make you look at the jungle a little differently. Deep inside the misty rainforests of far north Queensland, Australia, scientists came across something that looked almost too ordinary to notice. At first glance, it could have been a dry branch hanging among the leaves. But then, the branch moved. What they had found was not just another stick insect. It was a species science had never officially described before. They named it Acrophila alta because it was discovered in high-altitude rainforest more than 2,900 feet above sea level in the wet tropics region. And what made it so unsettling was not only its size, but the fact that something this large had remained hidden above people's heads for so long. One female specimen weighed 44 grams, about the weight of a golf ball, making it likely the heaviest insect ever scientifically described in Australia. But that was not the strangest part. Scientists believe this insect spends most of its life high in the rainforest canopy, where almost nobody can reach it. Unless a storm knocks one down or a bird drops it, there is almost no way to find it. So for years, maybe generations, these giant insects may have been living silently above the forest floor, completely unnoticed. And even after the discovery, the mystery is not completely solved. Only females have been found so far. The male remains unknown. That means somewhere in those treetops there may be more of them, perhaps even larger ones, hiding in plain sight, disguised as branches. For now, this discovery is not the most terrifying thing on this list. But it proves something uncomfortable. The jungle does not need to invent monsters. Sometimes it just keeps real creatures hidden long enough for science to realize it was never looking high enough. Number 9. If the giant insect from number 10 did not seem disturbing enough, this next discovery takes the list into stranger territory. Because this time, the fear was not caused by an animal. It was caused by a place. Deep in the jungle of Peru, an explorer named Baby Trujillo claimed he found something hidden among the caves and thick vegetation, a place locals described with fear, not curiosity. According to him, this was not just an ordinary cave. He believed it was a kind of dimensional portal. And while that sounds impossible, the stories around the area are what make it unsettling. Some locals claimed that people and animals had disappeared near that location. One resident from Kapuli in Rioja even said that a man once came through the area at midnight with his dog and then vanished. He was never seen again. But that was not the only strange detail. Trujillo also claimed the caves were connected to legends about Paititi, the lost city of the Incas, a place often described as being filled with hidden treasure and protected by something people were not supposed to disturb. During the expedition, he said he heard strange voices inside the caverns. He also claimed to have seen what he described as mist-like figures moving in and out of the jungle. And then came the explanation that made the story even more unusual. Trujillo believed the caves contained quartz and gold, and that these materials could create electromagnetic fields strong enough to cause strange phenomena in the area. Of course, there is no scientific proof that this was really a portal. But that is exactly why this case feels so eerie. Number 8. If the previous case did not seem strange enough, then this next discovery takes us into the muddy waters of the Sundarbans in Bangladesh. This region is already unsettling on its own. It is a place of mangrove forests, narrow canals, dark rivers, and villages where people live close to animals that are often hard to identify at first glance. But one video that circulated online made people stop for a very different reason.
Bruh, what kind of... Get this chicken. Just that snatcher mix. You know you want it. Come get it. Come get it. I don't know what in the world you are, but we gonna get you out this water. Somebody let me know, what is this? It's half turtle, half, I don't know. What the fish snatcher, boy? You moving too quick. You watch out there now. You like that chicken, don't you?
According to the story, a local fisherman named Rahim Uddin was near a small canal, feeding fish close to the edge of the water when he noticed something pale moving slowly between the aquatic plants. At first, he thought it was just a plastic bag trapped in the current, but then it moved again. And as it came closer, the pale shape lifted its head from the water. That was when the video became disturbing. The animal had completely pale skin, dark eyes, and a wide mouth that made its face look almost humanoid. For a few seconds, it did not look like a normal turtle, or even like a familiar animal. It looked like something deformed emerging from the canal. And that is exactly why many people online began calling it an unknown creature. But the most likely explanation is less supernatural, although still strange. Many believe the animal was actually a soft-shelled turtle with leucism, a condition that reduces pigmentation and can make an animal appear white or pinkish. And soft-shelled turtles already look unusual compared to common turtles. Their heads are more fleshy, their mouths can look strangely expressive, and their shells do not have the hard, obvious shape most people expect. So when you combine that body type with pale skin, muddy water, and a shaky video from a jungle canal, it is easy to understand why people thought they were seeing something unknown. In the end, this was probably not a monster. It was most likely a rare but real turtle. Number 7. From this point on, things start getting a little more terrifying. Because in the previous discoveries, the jungle was hiding strange animals and strange places. But this time, it was hiding something that followed the explorers home. In the remote Mosquitia rainforest of Honduras, a team of researchers and explorers entered one of the most isolated regions in Central America, searching for traces of a legendary lost city. For years, stories had spoken about the White City, also known as the City of the Monkey God, a place supposedly swallowed by the jungle and left untouched for centuries. And when the expedition finally reached the site, they did find evidence of an ancient civilization. But that was not the part that scared them most. After returning from the rainforest, members of the team began noticing strange wounds on their bodies. At first, they looked like ordinary insect bites, but then the sores did not heal. They grew worse. And doctors eventually discovered that many of them had been infected with leishmaniasis, a parasitic disease transmitted by sandflies. The parasite can attack the skin and create open, disfiguring sores. In some cases, it can even spread to the soft tissues of the nose and mouth. About half of the expedition team was diagnosed with the disease, and 5 of them became sick enough to be treated at the National Institutes of Health. So yes, they found the lost city. The jungle found them too. And that is what makes this discovery so disturbing. The danger was not a monster waiting in the ruins. It was something much smaller, something almost invisible. A tiny insect bite in the middle of the rainforest, carrying a parasite that could stay with them long after they escaped the jungle. Number 6. If nothing has seemed strange enough yet, then pay close attention to this case, because sometimes the jungle does not reveal itself through a giant animal, a hidden parasite, or an ancient ruin. Sometimes, all it takes is one photograph. This image was reportedly captured somewhere inside an environmental reserve in the United States, where biologists had placed cameras to record wildlife moving through the jungle. At first, the cameras were only meant to capture animals: deer, coyotes, maybe even bears. But according to the story, one of those cameras captured something that did not look like anything they were expecting. In the image, a strange figure appears standing on a jungle-covered slope, partially exposed between the trees. Its body looks almost human, but the face, posture, and expression are what made the photograph spread online. After the image began circulating, people came up with all kinds of theories. Some said it looked like a zombie. Others believe it could be a ghost or some kind of unknown creature captured deep in the jungle. But there is also a more skeptical possibility. It could have been a distorted image or even a staged photo that later became part of an online mystery. Still, that does not make the image easy to ignore. Because if the story is true, then a camera placed to study wildlife ended up capturing something that researchers were never looking for. Number 5. At the halfway point of this list, things stop being just strange and begin to feel almost impossible to explain. Because this time, the discovery was not a giant insect, a rare animal, or a disease hidden in the jungle. It was a behavior. In 2016, an international team led by primatologist Hjalmar Kohl revealed something that had been captured by camera traps deep in the rainforests of West Africa. At first, the footage looked simple. A large male chimpanzee approaches a tree. He stops for a moment, looks around. Then he grabs a heavy rock and throws it with full force against the trunk. And then, strangely, the rock does not disappear. Over time, stones begin to accumulate in the hollow of the tree, as if the same place was being used again and again. What made the researchers uneasy was that this behavior did not seem to be connected to food. It was not about cracking nuts. It was not about hunting. It was not clearly connected to mating, shelter, or survival. For the first time, individual chimpanzees were recorded using stone tools for something other than getting food. And that is where the discovery becomes disturbing. Because in some parts of West Africa, local human communities have placed stone collections near trees considered sacred. And the strange piles left by the chimpanzees look oddly similar to those human-made stone arrangements. This does not mean chimpanzees were practicing religion, but some scientists suggested it could be a sign of ritualized behavior, something repeated, symbolic, and not directly tied to survival. The behavior was seen in 4 wild chimpanzee populations across Guinea-Bissau, Côte d'Ivoire, and Liberia, after researchers studied 51 chimpanzee communities in total. So the terrifying question is not whether chimpanzees are becoming human. The real question is much older than that. What if the first rituals did not begin with temples, gods, or written stories, but with a creature standing in the jungle, throwing stones at a tree again and again, without needing food, fear, or survival to explain why? Number 4. If nothing has seemed truly strange so far, then look carefully at this next image. Because this time, the camera was not placed to capture anything mysterious. It was placed to study animals. In a remote area of Yasuni National Park in the Ecuadorian Amazon, a group of biologists reportedly installed several camera traps to observe nocturnal wildlife moving through the jungle. For weeks, the cameras recorded exactly what they expected: felines, tapirs, and other animals crossing the same hidden paths after dark. On March 21, 2022, at 6:06 p.m., one of those cameras captured something different. The image was blurry, almost as if whatever passed in front of the lens was moving too quickly or too close to be clearly recorded. At first, the researchers thought it could have been an animal covered in mud, maybe a primate, maybe something that simply got too close to the camera at the wrong moment. But the longer they looked at the image, the harder it became to explain. The shape of the head did not seem to match what they expected to see in that part of the jungle, and the apparent size of the figure made the photo even more confusing. There was no second image showing it walking away, no clear body, no perfect frame that could solve the mystery. Just one distorted figure, pressed close to the lens, moving through the vegetation at dusk. And that is what makes this case unsettling. Because camera traps are supposed to reveal what lives in places humans rarely reach, but every now and then, they capture something that raises more questions than answers. To this day, the image was reportedly archived as unidentified. And somewhere in the Yosuni jungle, whatever passed in front of that camera may still be moving through the trees, without anyone knowing exactly what it was. Number 3. Now we're entering the final 3, and this is where things start to feel truly disturbing. Because this next discovery begins inside a cave where animals entered for minerals, but humans may have walked out carrying something far more terrifying. On Mount Elgon in Kenya, there is a place called Kitten Cave, a deep volcanic cave that has attracted animals for thousands of years. Elephants enter at night, walking into the darkness to scrape minerals from the walls with their tusks. Buffaloes, hyenas, and other animals have also been seen going inside, drawn by the salts hidden in the rock. But the strange part is that this cave became known for something far more dangerous than the animals. In 1980, a man who had visited Kitten Cave became violently ill days later. At first, it seemed like a fever. Then came the pain, vomiting, and internal bleeding. His condition became so severe that he traveled to Nairobi to reach a hospital. But during that trip, his vomiting got worse. And while doctors tried to treat him, one of them was exposed to whatever he was carrying. The man died. The doctor became infected too, but he survived. And when a blood sample was finally tested, the answer was terrifying. It was Marburg virus. A few years later, the same cave was linked to another death. A young Danish boy has visited Kitten Cave during a family trip. Afterward, he became sick with similar symptoms and died. That was when researchers began to suspect that the cave was not just connected to one tragic accident. Something inside that environment may have been carrying the virus. Teams later entered the cave to search for the source. They tested different animals, including bats living above them in the darkness, but at the time they could not find a clear answer. Years later, scientists found Marburg virus in Egyptian fruit bats in Uganda, suggesting that bats were likely the reservoir host. And that detail makes Kitten Cave even more disturbing. Because the visitors did not need to be attacked. They did not need to see anything unusual. All they had to do was enter the cave, breathe the air, touch the walls, step through the dust, and leave. Without realizing they may have come face to face with one of the deadliest viruses on Earth. Number 2. At number 2, we have a video that becomes disturbing the moment you realize the person sleeping inside the tent had no idea what was behind him. This was reportedly recorded by Rizky Maulana, a hiking enthusiast who decided to camp alone in a jungle area of West Kalimantan, Indonesia, not far from Pontianak. According to Rizky, he had set up a small night camera facing his tent, mostly for safety. In that area, it was common for animals to approach campsites after dark. Monkeys, wild boars, or civets could easily move through the vegetation while someone was asleep. So at first, the camera was only there to see if anything was moving around his camp at night. But the first few hours, nothing unusual happened. The tent stayed still. A few insects passed close to the lens. But at 12:01 a.m., the camera captured something behind the tent. Between the trunks of a tree above the campsite, a white figure appeared completely still, almost as if it was standing or hanging among the branches. It had long hair covering its face, and from the camera's angle, it looked like it was staring directly toward the tent, where Risky was sleeping. What makes the recording even more disturbing is that Risky said he never heard footsteps, voices, or branches breaking during the night. He only noticed the figure the next morning when he checked the footage. After he shared the video, several users in Indonesia said the figure looked too much like a kuntilanak, a female apparition from local folklore often described as wearing white with long hair and appearing near trees or isolated jungle areas. Number 1. Now comes the most terrifying case on this list, and once you see it, you'll understand why it's number 1. This clip was reportedly recorded by a local guide during a hike near a tributary of the Madre de Dios River in the Peruvian Amazon. According to the version that circulated online, the group was moving along a trail beside the water when the guide noticed something massive lying on the riverbank. At first, he thought it was a black caiman resting near the edge. But when the guide looked more carefully, something seemed wrong. The animal did not have the clean shape of a normal caiman. Its back looked irregular. Several strange bumps appeared along its body. Near one side, there was something that almost looked like a second tail. That was when the clip began spreading as a supposed sighting of a modern dragon. Because from that distance, the creature did not look like an ordinary reptile. It looked old, deformed, almost covered by something that made its real shape difficult to recognize. The most likely explanation is that it was simply a caiman covered in mud, algae, or debris from the riverbank. And that would make sense. In the Amazon, an animal lying still near muddy water can easily look distorted, especially when it is recorded from far away and only for a few seconds. But what keeps this video disturbing is that nobody got close enough to confirm it. Was it only a caiman hidden under mud and river vegetation, or did that group capture something stranger? Level 0. And now, as a final bonus, there is one more video that was too strange to leave out. This clip was reportedly captured near the village of Tres Islas in Madre de Dios, Peru, an area of Amazon jungle where some locals use drones to check trails that are difficult to reach on foot. According to the version that circulated online, a local guide named Javier Quispe was flying his drone over an old path covered by vegetation. He was not looking for anything paranormal. The goal was supposedly to check whether hunters, loggers, or unknown people were entering through a secondary route near the village, especially after reports of dead animals and strange movement near the trails. But during one of those flights, the drone recorded something terrifying. In the footage, a large figure can be seen walking along the path, dragging what appears to be a person behind it. The clip is so short that it is impossible to confirm what is really happening. It could have been an actual attack. It could have been a staged scene. Or maybe it was something created with artificial intelligence. There's also the possibility that it was just a local worker dragging some kind of human-shaped dummy through the trail. Although even that will be strange in a place like this. So now I want to ask you something. Do you think this video is real? Or was it created just to make people believe something terrifying was happening deep in the jungle? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you thought these discoveries were disturbing, wait until you see what people have actually captured on camera deep in the jungle. Because in the next video, the evidence is no longer just stories, reports, or strange discoveries. It is footage.